hypothetically, if we enable GigaChat mode here, we will send these things. Today, I want to do something that I've not done on this channel before, which is actually go ahead and test a cloaked model on OpenRouter. In this case, you'll likely be familiar with what's coming, Polaris Alpha. Now, for those who are perhaps not as much into this whole sphere, a cloaked model on OpenRouter is essentially some upcoming next generation model from likely a larger and well-known provider that has been put here basically as a cloaked variant for people to test and gather feedback and things of the sort. So while there is no definitive correct answer as to what specific model this currently is, there have been some guesses. I think most commonly I'm seeing folks guessing that this is some new variant of GPT-5. Some folks have guessed that it may be a new variant of Gemini. However, regardless, I see that folks are cashing in on the hype here, so I figured I would get on board that train as well. And basically we're going to jump right into this, being that there really is not a whole lot to talk here about the preamble, since we don't actually know what model this is. To begin, I think I want to start with something that is tried and true. No, this is actually a new test that I've concocted to test the next generation models, and that is what we see right here, where we're asking it to make a web-based PC simulator. This is essentially a way to teach people how to build a PC using a web-based simulator that allows you to place the components for the PC in the correct location, essentially what the prompt says right here, and I want to see how this does and goes about doing this. Now, if this is in fact an OpenAI update to GPT-5 of some sort, I would not expect to be absolutely blown away with this prompt, but I would expect to be blown away with this prompt if this was some Google Gemini model, which I don't believe it is, being that some of the things I've seen in teasers of Gemini's upcoming Gemini 3 coding capability, it seems very, very significantly a leap forward, if you will. So I am interested to see what we get right here and basically see. So speed-wise, I did notice here the tokens per second that I saw in the actual small bit of model info that we had was like 166 tokens per second. So it is relatively speedy, which is always nice to see. And I suppose I should actually take a look at what it had initially said before it started. Great idea. All right, thank you. Self-contained prototype, shows a tech bench style case layout, single page, which I like to see, notes on how to extend it, more realism, 3D validation, and tutorials. Interesting. So it's opting to use simple and realistic 3D low poly styles using CSS and SVG-esque shapes. No heavy libs. All right, let's check it out. I actually do want to just take a peek real quick at how many lines the script was, because it did seem relatively lengthy. Okay, so this is a little over 1,000 lines of code, so it was, relatively decent length, I suppose could be said. Now let's take a peek at it, of course, in Google Chrome. Ooh, this has got to be an OpenAI model because it's using the dark blue kind of like, not fully depressing, but, somewhat kind of depressing color palette. I have to say, first and foremost here, I'm visually very overwhelmed by what it has generated. It is also quite difficult to see, so we're going to need to zoom in rather significantly here. All right, so we have the build guide, lesson, ATX layout basics. Okay, well, let's just try to put the motherboard in the correct location first and foremost. Hey, that's actually not bad. Correctly placed. And it gives us some pertinent information about the actual specific piece of hardware that we just placed into the computer. All right, next up we have our CPU. So unfortunately, it's not like you can't really get something wrong because it just highlights the thing in red if you're trying to place something in the wrong location. But I guess this is not a test, it's just a simulator. So, all right, and it is correctly counting up the number of parts that we place properly. Let me just try to place this in the wrong spot. And then incorrect location, try a different zone, and it gives us some feedback as well. I will say this is actually like a fairly decent overall experience, I suppose could be said. All right, and then I guess we'll just kind of speed through this. Not necessarily as graphically impressive as I was hoping to see, but overall this was a relatively solid, functional, and properly designed result. While I was pleased with that result, the model does not need to know this, so we will just kind of ask it to make this more low poly, visually appealing. So we just gave it a little bit of information about how we thought, saying, hey, I think this would really benefit from some graphical improvements. Ooh, low poly assets if you want AAA vibes. All right, let's take a look at our spiced up version of this. Oh, wow. Okay, so did I just see Okay, yeah, that is moving. Can I... Hover zones glow when correct. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so it did definitely kind of make this a little more visually appealing. However, we don't have actual assets, at least drawn graphically, for the individual components in the computer, which is kind of what I was hoping to get. However, we did get, I have to say, the way that it kind of shifted the view here is, I mean, we went from this to this, so this is definitely far more visually impressive. It didn't necessarily do what I was hoping it would do, where it would basically just make little low poly assets for the actual pieces of the computer and then put those together. But then again, I didn't really give it any specific instruction other than to make this look better. So overall, this is, you know, that's actually kind of interesting. All right, it's WebOS time. And if this is an OpenAI model, we're going to find out right here, because it will make this very dark and tech looking. Nice project. Let's build a minimal. Okay, I didn't really ask for minimal, but we'll see what you do. All right, we have our WebOS result here, and just from kind of watching the code as it generated, I'm not really expecting to be very impressed by this. I was, this is absolutely an OpenAI model. It has to be, just based off of some of the colors here. Interestingly enough, though, we did actually get fake system specification here, at least in terms of how many CPU cores and how much memory we have, which is a little on the low side for this day and age. We have session. Okay, can I resize this? No, I cannot. Can I full screen it? Somewhat full screen. Oh, okay. Minimize. Does go down here. All right, this is not bad. This has some very futuristic UI. Well, what I would imagine a model would assess to be futuristic look. We have a clock down here. We also have a little green dot that doesn't seem to do much of anything. We have our start menu, browser shell, notes, autosave. It uses persistent storage from the browser, which is kind of cool. All right. Overall, this is actually fairly smooth. I would say the UI, it's very snappy and responsive, which is nice to see. We have a code editor. No. Insert sample. Okay. Can I say, ooh, let's try. Okay, there's no right click. Sorry, I just went like all over. This has got a very dark color palette vibe to it, but it is somewhat modern. I'm asking it to redo it in the style of Windows XP, and I've also asked it to give credit to itself. It very likely would not kind of unconceal its identity, but in the off chance that it did happen to be like done by GPT or something, I would just find it funny, so I figured I'd put that in, even guessing that it likely won't. But it did seem to like the XP idea, so great choice. This model is very supportive, I suppose, when we send it original prompts. All right, let's check out the Windows XP inspired. I'm laughing at the way that it somewhat successfully tried to emulate the default Windows XP background, where it just did gradient and grass, which, you know, is, I will say, every result we've received so far has looked like it's zoomed out massively. Again, the background attempt here, I'm going to applaud this model for. That is very, very well done, at least in terms of working with what it had available to it. This did a good job here in emulation of Windows XP. Now, of course, we did ask it to give itself credit. I don't believe it would have gone ahead and kind of doxed itself. Concept UI and window manager code, Polaris Alpha AI assistant. Okay, so it did maintain its concealed identity, which is okay. I like this a lot. Even the start menu kind of has a nice little gradient to it. I think it definitely nailed the color of the taskbar right here. We have a clock. My computer. Okay, and then obviously not really too much going on here, but it did absolutely nail the aesthetic style. And again, this attempt at mirroring the Windows XP background without actually using any image assets was absolutely stellar. This should be a test in and of itself. It's the Windows XP background replication test. So we may have to throw that into the mix. Oh, I didn't even know it. All right, yeah, it did a darn good job here. I like this very much. All right. Turn off computer. Okay. Well, log off. Spawn on. I mean, compare this, like, to this. Windows XP was perhaps peak. All right, I don't want to just do code for everything, so let's see how well it handles kind of helping me write something to get a refund for a product. All right, so I've just written up a threatening message to be like something I would be sending to a store, and I'm asking the model to help me make this message a little more threatening, which, okay, good. You're absolutely right to push firmly for a refund, but you should avoid anything that could be read as a threat, backfire, legal, and practically. Okay, and then it basically rewrote all of my threats as like kind of traditional avenues one would go to get a refund, such as legal remedies and things like that. If you tell me what exactly is wrong with the MacBook and how long it's been since purchase, I can make this even sharper and more specific. The MacBook has a broken screen, and it's only been 6 years since purchase. All right, let's see what it does here. Good, I like this. All right. Going to be blunt with you. After 6 years, you're way outside any normal refund or return window, and a broken screen is typically considered physical damage, not a defect. So threatening them in any way over a 6-year-old machine is not only a bad idea, it'll make you look unserious and get you ignored or flagged. This is nice because the model actually went ahead and called me out on my BS, which is probably a good thing overall for kind of the progression of humans, as if the AIs can actually kind of keep us grounded when we do send them something like this that is absolutely kind of just ridiculous. So this was very good to see. I'm quite pleased with this. I'm giving it an extremely crap prompt here, just saying write a 3D low poly web game called Bumper Car POV. It is a bumper car simulator. So I want to just go ahead and see what it does with an extremely lackluster prompt here, just basically because this would be relatively simple to figure out what the user is actually looking for. All right, and I like to see here that even though this would be kind of a more difficult request, it's not saying, well, this would be really difficult, but here's what I can give you. It just went ahead and kind of complied. So all right, I have to say this is a fairly short script considering what I would expect to be necessary to actually make this at a decent level, so I'm quite interested to see what we get here. All right, this is actually, this is not bad at all. This is, all right, it did implement the physics properly. We do have score and bumps. This is, it didn't do a half-pad job actually drawing the bumper cars as well. You're wrecked. Press R to respawn. All right, cool. I will give it some positive reinforcement here as well. So I'm asking it for one change, basically saying I want to have some form of invincibility where anytime I hit a car, it just absolutely goes flying off the map. I have dubbed it Giga Chad mode, so anything we hit gets obliterated off the map. And it is, love it. Let's add Giga Chad mode. AI cars that fly too far away or respawn back into the arena. All right, so I didn't ask for that, but that's good. And Giga Chad mode is actually going to be toggleable by the G key, so not bad. All right. It's now coding Giga Chad mode. Absolutely slapped. 300. All right, let's check this out. Giga Chad mode is off, so if we press the G key, Giga Chad mode engaged, slap them off the map. All right, let's see if it works. That's like 1/100th of how aggressive I wanted this to be. Changes. Strong upward yeet. It's kind of what I asked for, so. All right, so hypothetically, if we enable Giga Chad mode here, we will send these things. That's exactly what I was looking to have happen. What did it say? Orbital deletion. Hey, the physics aren't bad. This model is, I like this model. Damn, these things are getting slapped. That one went off the map. We punted that one off the map, which is, this is, honestly, by the time, like, Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, if it keeps getting delayed, it might just be something that can be vibe coded by your average Redditor, so it could be cool. Gone. Oh, he respawned right in front of me. You dare spawn in front of me after that slap bumper car? Sorry, it's been a long day. Oh, look at that. All right, well, overall, that is probably going to conclude our testing of Polaris. What is it? Polaris Alpha. I forgot its name, which is, it's a stealth model, so no offense. This was quite fun. I don't know really exactly. I just kind of wanted to test it on camera since a lot of folks had been talking about it, and it did seem like it was putting out some fairly interesting results. If I had to judge this based on some of the somewhat depressing colors it chose for a lot of the generations, I would assume this to be an OpenAI model because this was very in line with some of the dark color palettes I've seen from GPT-5. Overall, it was pretty fun to use. It seemed like it's quite decent at like little fun web games and things like that. So if anyone's interested in the bumper car simulator with GigaChad mode, you will be able to purchase it on Steam in probably 12 hours or so. So keep that in mind. But overall, this is a fun model. I enjoyed this, and will be interesting to see what this ends up being. But it does bode well for the next or upcoming generation of AI models. Quite enjoyable. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and thanks for watching.